Good afternoon from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's the 31st of August 2025 and the time is 12:55 p.m. And if I'm looking a bit flabbergasted and frustrated, it's because this is part 3 of chapter 7 of The Hobbit, because my iPhone overheated, and anyway it's having difficulty uploading yet again, and it's driving me bats. I don't know why it's become such a problem. It worked fine when I got it brand new, so obviously it's got something to do with bandwidth or some settings being changed, or possibly YouTube hates me, or I could get paranoid and conspiracy theory about it, but all I'm doing is reading The Hobbit. I mean, how bad could it be? Bad. Very, very bad. Anyway, while we try not to wallow in murkwoods of other people's doings and goings on, my own self-sabotage and inability to master technology at times, can't blame everything on everyone else. But sometimes it's a bit odd how it was working wonderfully and now suddenly I'm having all these battles and struggles. Don't you think? Anyway, it's a glorious sunny day and it's quite cold inside the house. I took my cardigan off because I was overheating and now I'm a bit cool. But I thought, well, one must just be stoic and intrepid and carry on with the story, because I'm determined to finish this chapter today, people of Earth. It's taken me 3 goes at it, but we will reach completion if it kills me. Let's hope it doesn't come to that, you understand. Sometimes I find the stress very overwhelming, and I do have pain in my jaw. I don't know, I've got a broken tooth. I think that's finally going all right. So it's probably why I'm a bit more easily irritated than at other times, because I am in a little bit of pain, to be honest. But sometimes I grind on my teeth, my sleep, and that can create pain. A few months ago I went into panic mode thinking I had to have 3 teeth pulled out, and that wasn't the case. So perfectly fine, It's this one down here they promised they would get me back in to fix them and didn't, because, as I say, they wait till it's emergency mode or they hope you crawl away and die literally. It's that awful. It's that beyond awful. But it's my fault because I should have gone in. It's been about 4 weeks since I broke it, and I couldn't have done anything because I had that terrible flu and I couldn't have gone in sick. They wouldn't have treated me. And they don't treat me even when I go unhealthy, quite frankly. They keep sending me away from that hospital. I don't quite understand why they don't actually fill any of the fillings or do anything. It's odd. It's starting to feel quite deliberate, to be honest. This time, though, I'm going to have to do something because it's hurting and I don't have the flu anymore and there's no excuse to avoid the hospital. And literally, it's my own fear that besieges me, because they keep, as I say, last time they could have easily fixed that, sent me away. I will send you to the specialist. We'll get an appointment within 8 weeks. Never heard back from them. Never did. I don't know whether it's the admin staff being slack or whether someone higher up just goes, oh, that bitch, we'll just hope she crawls away. I don't know what's going on with our Queensland health, but it's dangerous. It's actually dangerous to leave people with things that could potentially go septic. Anyway, I don't think it's septic, it just aches today. And in true Titania style, forging ahead, pain or no pain, reading stories and living in denial about the level of pain I'm in today. And sometimes it's just like that. You sometimes just have a day of pain and then it goes away. Because, after 6 decades of epic cumulative trauma, my nervous system is shot to pieces. So, You know, it only takes one little bit of discomfort or annoyance and the whole thing just flares. So I'm not going to pay too much attention to it unless I wake up tomorrow in terrible pain, and then tomorrow will be Monday, which they won't do anything on Sunday anyway. And then I'll make an appointment and I'll drag my sorry ass in and see what can be done, if they will ever do anything. I'm going to have to start complaining to the Health Rights Commission. Not that they ever defended me either, really, in the broad scheme of things. But I'm going to have to start screaming very, very high up through the government structures, because it's evil what's happening to me. And it won't just be me, it'll be lots of other people in the same boat. It's quite deliberate, I believe. Quite deliberate. So, on that happy note, let's continue on with reading The Hobbit before I work myself into a frenzy over something that I don't really have any control over anyway. If they keep leaving my teeth to rot in my head and I don't have the money to pay for a private dentist, it's like, what can you do? Lose all your fucking teeth, that's what you can do. But anyway, I'm being histrionic because I'm irritated by my iPhone. It keeps failing me, and well, this time it was my fault because it just got too hot out there. It got far too hot. Let's have a look what it's doing. Nothing much at all. I don't know how long I can continue reading these stories because I'm having so much trouble with technology and it causes me so much stress. And it's meant to be, you know, a fun activity and meant to be something nice for you to hear stories and watch me meander around with all my funny little anecdotes and memories. And it's not all dark and depressing. Some of it's quite lovely. Got to have the yin with the yang. Anyway, I'll see how we go. Every day is a new day. I just have to forge ahead as though life is truly beautiful and everything works for me. Am I right, people of Earth? I'm right. Anyway, we got cut off. I'd actually gone on for another paragraph, but I had to go back and find where we got cut off. We got cut off. I'll start from the top of that paragraph. Beorn, the man that can change himself into a gigantic black bear who'd gone to scope the lands to see if the dwarves and Gandalf's and the Hobbit story were true about the wargs and the goblins. So he has returned and he says, "It was a good story, that of yours," said Beorn, "but I like it still better now. I am sure it is true. You must forgive my not taking your word. If you lived near the edge of Mirkwood, you would take the word of no one that you did not know as well as your brother, or better. As it is, I can only say that I have hurried home as fast as I could to see that you were safe and to offer you any help that I can. I shall think more kindly of dwarfs after this. Killed the great goblin. Killed the great goblin." He chuckled fiercely to himself. "What did you do with the goblin and the warg?" asked Bilbo suddenly. "Come and see," said Beorn, and they followed round the house. A goblin's head was stuck outside the gate, and a warg's skin was nailed to a tree just beyond. Beorn was a fierce enemy, but now he was their friend, And Gandalf thought it wise to tell him their whole story and the reason of their journey so that they could get the most help he could offer. This is what he promised to do for them. He would provide ponies for each of them and a horse for Gandalf for their journey to the forest, and he would lade them with food to last them for weeks with care, and packed so as to be as easy as possible to carry, nuts, flour, sealed jars of dried fruits, and red earthenware pots of honey, and twice-baked cakes that would keep good a long time. And I'm grimacing a bit because I had a dear elderly Orthodox Jewish friend called Mrs. Bernstein. She was a gorgeous lady, but she was ancient. She was in her 80s. And she used to invite me for afternoon tea, and her biscuits and cakes would be so fucking stale. She baked everything herself because she was strictly kosher, you understand. But by the time I would get there, they'd be all stale and quite hard. And thinking about twice-baked cakes somehow brought back that memory. And of course, you know, when you have a bit of couth and a bit of class and manners, you would never dare suggest that she was feeding you stale biscuits and cakes that were almost difficult to bite into. You just smile politely and eat and partake and be gracious. But I did love her. That's probably why I was so gracious. Anyone else, I would have said, what the fuck is this you're feeding me? But no, I was very, very much being a lady and wanting to please her, because I could see she was alone, widowed, newly widowed. I mean, she was married when I first met her, but then she became widowed. She was very lonely and nobody sort of bothered with her. You know, I thought, what does it matter if I eat a few stale bloody cakes and extraordinarily difficult to eat. But anyway, why, you know, just suck it up, Buttercup, because for the sake of heaven, she'd no family, no children, no grandchildren, then no husband, and not many people bother with you when you're elderly and you make stale cakes. But it wasn't the stale cakes was the reason. It was just nobody bothers with you. They don't want to know you. You're not cool enough, or you're not up with the latest, you know, Gucci, Poochie and smoochy, narcissistic, sociopathic tropes, and they just drop you like a hot cake or like a stale, cold cake, and it's evil. And I'm not that person, you know, I'm not that person. So I used to go and visit and stick with her for, you know, quite a long time. I did that. Then eventually I dropped off too. Not because she'd done anything wrong or I'd done anything wrong. It's just how life plays out sometimes. And then when I heard she got put into Eventide, where her husband had been before his death, put into an old people's home. It's run by the Freemasons actually. So that told me that they were actually Jewish Freemasons, which is a few around. And no judgment, I don't care, you know, what your thing is, as long as you're not harming anyone, you do you know. But anyway, it was way on the other side, not far from where she actually lived, but a very long way from me in those days. And it was just too far to travel, and whatever excuse I had going on at the time, I was going through a lot of very bad times at that time period, being threatened by those fucking miscreant bastards. So however it panned out, I didn't go and visit her, and then when she died, I thought, oh well, there you go. Should have made the effort, because now she's gone, and, you know, it's kind of tragic, really. dying all alone without family, no one to give a flying fuck about you, so there is that. But anyway, I'm fully conscious that that probably will be my fate one day too, so, you know, it is what it is. Just have to enjoy every day as it comes, like a gift. Never look a gift horse in the mouth. Right, so he sent them on with twice baked cakes that would keep good a long time, and on a little of which they could march far. The making of these was one of his secrets, but honey was in them, as in most of his foods, and they were good to eat, though they made one thirsty. It's very traditional for Jewish people to celebrate the Jewish New Year by baking honey cake. And I was thinking about it, yes. It used to make me a bit thirsty too. I wonder why that is, because it tastes delicious. Anyway, on we go and on we go. Water, he said. They would not need to carry this side of the forest, for there were streams and springs along the road. But your way through Mirkwood is dark, dangerous, and difficult, he said. Water is not easy to find there, nor food. The time is not yet come for nuts, although it may be past and gone indeed, before you get to the other side. And nuts are about all that grows there, fit for food. In there the wild things are dark, queer, and savage. I will provide you with skins for carrying water, and I will give you some bows and arrows, but I doubt very much whether anything you find in Mirkwood will be wholesome to eat or drink. There is one stream there, I know, black and strong, which crosses the path, that you should neither drink of nor bathe in, for I have heard that it carries enchantment and a great drowsiness and forgetfulness. And in the dim shadows of that place, I don't think you will shoot anything wholesome or unwholesome without straying from the path. That you must not do for any reason. That is all the advice I can give you. Oh, Kermit's having a sleep. My sweet little baby. That is all the advice I can give you. Beyond the edge of the forest I cannot help you much. You must depend on your luck and your courage and the food I send with you. At the gate of the forest I must ask you to send back my horse and my ponies. Why is my skull facing the wrong way? I don't know. Behave yourself. Just because we're zombies doesn't mean you have to be all obstreperous and difficult. Right. But I wish you all speed, and my house is open to you if ever you come back this way again. They thanked him, of course, with many bows and sweepings of their hoods, and with many an "At your service, O master of the wide wooden halls." but their spirits sank at his grave words, and they all felt that the adventure was far more dangerous than they had thought, while all the time, even if they passed all the perils of the road, the dragon was waiting at the end. A real dragon, breathing fire, guarding its hoard of treasure, you understand? Ruthless and merciless and sadistic. All that morning, they were busy with preparations. Soon after midday, they ate with Bjorn for the last time, and after the meal they mounted the steeds he was lending them, and bidding him many farewells, they rode off through his gate at a good pace. As soon as they left his high hedges at the east of his fenced lands, they turned north and there bore to the northwest. By his advice, they were no longer making for the main forest road to the south of his land. Had they followed the pass, their path would have led them down a stream excuse me. Their path would have led them down a stream from the mountains that joined the great river miles south of the Carrick. At that point, there was a deep ford which they might have passed, if they had still had their ponies, and beyond that a track led to the skirts of the wood and to the entrance of the old forest road. But Bjorn had warned them that that way was now often used by the goblins, while the forest road itself, he had heard, was overgrown and disused at the eastern end and led to impassable marshes where the paths had long been lost. Its eastern opening had also always been far to the south of the lonely mountain, and would have left them still with a long and difficult northward march when they got to the other side. North of the Carrick, the edge of Mirkwood drew closer to the borders of the great river, and though here the mountains too drew now down nearer, Bjorn advised them to take this way, for at a place a few days' ride due north of the Carrick was the gate of a little known pathway through Mirkwood that led almost straight towards the lonely mountain. The goblins, Bjorn had said, will not dare to cross the great river for 100 miles north of the Carrick, nor to come near my house. It is well protected at night. But I should ride fast, for if they make their raid soon, they will cross the river to the south and scour all the edge of the forest so as to cut you off, and wolves run swifter than ponies. Still you are right. Still you are safer going north, even though you seem to be going back nearer to their strongholds, for that is what they will least expect, and they will have the longer ride to catch you. Be off now, as quick as you may. That is why they were riding in silence, galloping wherever the ground was grassy and smooth, with the mountains dark on their left, and, in the distance, the line of the river with its trees drawing ever closer. The sun had only just turned west when they started, and till evening it lay golden in the land about them. It was difficult to think of pursuing goblins behind, and when they had put many miles between them and Bjorn's house, they began to talk and to sing again, and to forget the dark forest path that lay in front. But in the evening, when the dusk came on, and the peaks of the mountains glowered against the sunset, they made a camp and set a guard, and most of them slept uneasily with dreams in which there came the howl of hunting wolves and the cries of goblins. Still the next morning dawned bright and fair again. There was an autumn-like mist white upon the ground, and the air was chill. But soon the sun rose red in the east, and the mists vanished, and while the shadows were still long, they were off again. So they rode now for 2 more days, and all the while they saw nothing save grass and flowers and birds and scattered trees, and occasionally small herds of red deer browsing or sitting at noon in the shade. Kearney's preening. I was just keeping an eye on her. Little boy starting to sing. Sometimes Bilbo saw the horns of the huts sticking up out of the long grass, and at first he thought they were the dead branches of trees. That 3rd evening they were so eager to press on, for Bjorn had said, excuse me, that they should reach the forest gate early on the 4th day, that they rode still forward after dusk and into the night beneath the moon. As the light faded, Bilbo thought he saw away to the right or to the left the shadowy form of a great bear prowling along in the same direction. But if he dared to mention it to Gandalf, the wizard only said, "Hush, take no notice." Next day they started before dawn. What's he upset about? Who's upsetting you, little Bo? Don't see you. Birdie's hanging around. Oh. The next day they started before dawn, though their night had been short. As soon as it was light, they could see the forest coming, as it were, to meet them, or waiting for them, like a black and frowning wall before them. I've got to sort of be a bit hypervigilant because the snakes are probably coming out of hibernation and they can't get into their cage, I don't think, but just seeing them would be enough to give them a heart attack, you know. By the gods. And I can't put them on my shoulder and get them away in an emergency like I could with Charlie because they're not tame and won't sit on my bloody shoulder. So I don't know what I'd be doing trying to rescue them from a snake in an emergency. It's a worry, isn't it? Another thing I've got to worry about. But honestly, that time when that carpet snake came to check out Charlie's cage, and fortunately she wasn't in it but was with me, it was determined. When I actually grabbed her and put her on my shoulder, it turned its head and looked at me to say, "Are you coming between me and my prey, Mama T?" And I said, yes I am. You're not going to eat my Charlie. And it was most disappointed and rather annoyed, I might add. I wonder if it was the same carpet python that I named Sybil that came to shed her skin here. She almost lives here like she's a pet, that serpent, and I'm not bothered by that as long as she doesn't go after my birds or attack me. I enjoy being attacked by a gigantic bloody carpet python. What would I do? I'd freak the hell out people there. But anyway, that one that was here from October 31st to, which was Halloween, to Remembrance Day, the 11th of November, you know, was very peaceful and probably in a lot of pain shedding her skin, or his skin. So I named her Sybil, but I actually don't know what its gender was. But anyway, it lived here quite peacefully, harmonic resonance and sacred space with the Mama T, which is, that's the one rule of this house. You come here, you come in peace, or you fuck the hell off. That includes all the other creatures as well. Yup, pretty much. But, you know, of course, snakes see birds and all they think of is lunch, you know, which is understandable, really, if you're a snake. Anyway, we're going to stop thinking about those terrifying dark thoughts. Continue on with the story. The land began to slope up and up, and it seemed to the hobbit that a silence began to draw in upon them. Birds began to sing less. There were no more deer, not even rabbits were to be seen. By the afternoon, they had reached the eaves of Mirkwood and were resting almost beneath the great overhanging boughs of its outer trees. The lorikeets are here, boys. Their trunks were huge and gnarled, their branches twisted, their leaves were dark and long. Ivy grew on them and trailed along the ground. Well, here is Mirkwood, said Gandalf, the greatest of the forests of the northern world. I hope you like the look of it. Now you must send back these excellent ponies you have borrowed. The dwarves were inclined to grumble at this. But the wizard told them they were fools. Beorn is not as far off as you seem to think, and you had better keep your promises anyway, for he is a bad enemy. Mr. Baggins's eyes are sharper than yours. If you have not seen each night after dark a great bear going along with us or sitting far off in the moon watching our camps, not only to guard you and guide you, but to keep an eye on the ponies too. Beorn may be your friend, but he loves his animals as his children. You do not guess what kindness he has shown you in letting dwarves ride them so far and so fast, nor what would happen to you if you tried to take them into the forest. What about the horse then? Said Thorin. You don't mention sending that back. I don't, because I am not sending it. What about your promise then? I will look after that. I am not sending the horse back. I am riding it. Then they knew that Gandalf was going to leave them at the very edge of Mirkwood, and they were in despair. But nothing they could say would change his mind. Now, we had this all out before when we landed on the Carrack, he said. It is no use arguing. I have, as I told you, some pressing business away south, and I am already late, although through bothering with you people. We may meet again before all is over, and then again, of course, we may not. That depends on your luck and on your courage and sense. And I am sending Mr. Baggins with you. I'm getting a bit hungry. My tummy's churning. Ah well, we must complete this mission, people of Earth. I have told you before that he has more about him than you guess, and you will find that out before long. So cheer up, Bilbo, and don't look so glum. Cheer up, Thorin and company. This is your expedition, after all. Think of the treasure at the end, and forget the forest and the dragon, at any rate, until tomorrow morning. When tomorrow morning came, he still said the same. So now there was nothing left to do but to fill their water skins at a clear spring they found close, to the forest gate, and unpack the ponies. They distributed the packages as fairly as they could, though Bilbo thought his lot was wearisomely heavy, and did not at all like the idea of trudging for miles and miles with all that on his back. Don't you worry, said Thorin. It will get lighter all too soon. Before long, I expect, we shall all wish our packs heavier when the food begins to run short. Then at last they said goodbye to their ponies and turned their heads for home. Off they trotted gaily, seeming very glad to put their tails towards the shadow of Mirkwood. As they went away, Bilbo could have sworn that a thing like a bear left the shadow of the trees and shambled off quickly after them. Now Gandalf said farewell. Bilbo sat on the ground, feeling very unhappy and wishing he was beside the wizard on his tall horse. He had gone just inside the forest after breakfast, a very poor one, and it seemed as dark in there in the morning as at night, and very secret. A sort of watching and waiting feeling, he said to himself. Goodbye, said Gandalf to Thorin, and goodbye to you all. Goodbye. Straight through the forest is your way now. Don't stray off the track. If you do, it is 1,000 to 1 you will never find it again and never get out of Mirkwood. And then I don't suppose I or anyone else will ever see you again. Do we really have to go through? Groaned the hobbit. Yes, you do, said the wizard, if you want to get to the other side. You must either go through or give up your quest, and I am not going to allow you to back out now, Mr. Baggins. I am ashamed of you for thinking of it. You have got to look after all these dwarfs for me, he laughed. No, no, said Bilbo. I didn't mean that. I meant, is there no way round? There is, if you care to go 200 miles or so out of your way north and twice that south, but you wouldn't get a safe path even then. There are no safe paths in this part of the world. Remember, you are over the edge of the wild now, and in for all sorts of fun wherever you go. Before you could get round Mirkwood in the north, you would be right among the slopes of the grey mountains, and they are simply stiff with goblins, hobgoblins, and orcs of the worst description. Before you could get round it in the south, you would get into the land of the necromancer, and even you, Bilbo, won't need me to tell you tales of that black sorcerer. I don't advise you to go anywhere near the places overlooked by his dark tower. Stick to the forest track. Keep your spirits up. Hope for the best. And with a tremendous slice of luck, you may come out one day and see the long marshes lying below you and beyond them, high In the east, the lonely mountain where dear old Smog lives, though I hope he is not expecting you. Very comforting you are, to be sure, growled Thora. Goodbye. If you won't come with us, you had better get off without any more talk. Goodbye, then. And really, goodbye, said Gandalf. And he turned his horse and rode down into the west. But he could not resist the temptation to have the last word. Before he had passed quite out of hearing, he turned and put his hands to his mouth and called to them. They heard his voice come faintly. Goodbye, be good, take care of yourselves, and don't leave the path. Then he galloped away and was soon lost to sight. Oh, goodbye and go away, grunted the dwarfs, all the more angry because they were really filled with dismay at losing him. Now began the most dangerous part of all the journey. They each shouldered the heavy pack and the water skin, which was their share, and turned from the light that lay on the lands outside and plunged into the forest. And thus at last concludes chapter 7. What was it? Queer Lodgings. I have completed this mission with great intrepidness and stoicism, and by the grace of the YouTube OptusNet gods, it will all upload forthwith, and then you can enjoy the story as much as I did, even with weird segues and interruptions. Some days are just like that, people of Earth. It's just everything goes wrong, and you just gotta ride it out, like plunging into a dark forest. Anyway, I bid you good afternoon. Have a wonderful day, evening, night, wherever you are on planet Earth and the space-time continuum. And I'll be back tomorrow with chapter 8. Bye for now.